if you're on social media talking about building businesses and everything else, you hear the term angel investor. What an angel investor is if somebody has a business that is going to take hundreds of thousands of dollars to get off the ground. Let's say it's a tech startup. It's a new social media
like
app.
the Daily Wire.
So it's
they
just
use
they're just
a couple angels.
Investor groups.
Like the Daily Wire used 2 angel investors because I mean they're a big, massive tech company.
Right. Anything that's going to be of massive size that's going to take hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to plug into it before it even produces $1 in revenue. Okay. Those types of companies will seek investors.
Yeah.
And an angel investor,
high startup cost,
is somebody who invests a lot of money without only on the concept. So
like if it fails, they don't get any money or they have no ownership. They just get their money back.
So an angel investor is usually going to get their money back, but there's always risks with any investment. But what I'm saying, like the difference between an investor and an angel investor is like right now, if I ask for investors for my company, I actually have proof. I've got 4 years of proof to show them, increasing revenue every year, increasing profits every year, increasing staff every year.
Yeah.
And so there's enough for them to say it's a good investment, right?
Gotcha.
An angel investor would be like if I came to you in mid 2019, we opened in 2020. If I came to you in mid 2019 and said, I'm going to start a plumbing company, I think it'll do this, but I don't really know, and you chose to invest with me, that would be an angel investor. You invested without any proof of past success.
Gotcha. Just a dipshit. Understood.
Can be.
Yeah.
Or
just super rich and either believes in your idea 100%,
right,
or they're just looking to get rid of money.
Yeah. So where angel investors come in a lot is you get a guy who has more ideas than money. And his ideas are good. And there's people out there that are like this. I see this. But I saw this a lot in Apex.
But they can't put it together.
Well, they've got phenomenal ideas. They just know that, okay, this idea is going to take $1 million to get off the ground. But once it's off the ground, it'll produce $10 million a year in revenue.
It's like a movie writer, essentially, too.
Kinda. Yeah. And so those guys will seek angel investors. And those guys can rely on their past track record of like, this business, I got angel investors and they all cashed out and doubled their money. This business, I got angel investors and they all cashed out and got 150% or, whatever.
Gotcha.
And so they can rely on their past success. It's still considered an angel investment. So if you're starting a small home service company, you will not have angel investors. Nobody trusts anybody that's going to start a small contracting company.
I mean, I know a lot of moms out there. Here, honey.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
That's different.
But not strangers.
Right.
But not strangers.
And it doesn't take $250,000 to start a home service business.
No, it doesn't.
So we started our company with $30,000. And that $30,000, I financed our first truck. So I didn't have to have the capital and then plunk down the capital on that.
You probably put down a little on the truck.
Put down like $5,000, finance the rest.
Yeah.
And we're good to go.
Easy peasy. Roll on.
And that's back when you could buy Ford Transits for $35,000. The good old days.
Well, and that's also when your interest rate wasn't fucking 10 on a vehicle.
Yeah.
Thanks Bidenomics.
Yeah.
Can you break down the logistics of investing and say if I was starting a business and I'm like, Mitch, I would like for you to invest, how does that shake down? Is there a contract? Is it like you set terms of service?
Hold on. We're not going to go with the investment route. And the reason why is because nobody listening to this podcast needs to seek investors to do what they want to do.
That's true. But if any of you want me to invest in your business, just call me. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to take parts of your profit.
And here's the reason why. If you need investors to start a home service company, that means you haven't done it before. And nobody in their right mind is going to give anybody money to start a home service company that's never done it before and has no track record. There is no logical reason why your business will be successful other than your sheer determination, which I can't measure that.
Let's be honest. There are idiots, but it could take you 2 years to get people together to do that. Like the amount of hurdles that you would have to go through and prove and people to talk to, you could literally just work another 2 weeks and save up the money and do it.
Right. And so what I did was, this was 2020, not 2019, 2020. Our home, the home values were skyrocketing. And so our home did not have a finished basement. I sold a car that I got given for free and I invested $3,000 into it. I ended up selling it for $6,800 and the car was free, right? So like I didn't owe anything on it. I took that 6,800 and I invested it into materials and then my labor to finish our basement. I finished our basement. Now our house has more finished square footage. It's worth even more. So then I refinanced our house. I did not do a cash out refinance.
You didn't refi.
I refinanced the house in preparation to start the company, and then I got a home equity line of credit during the refi.
Okay.
So
did a no cash out refi.
I did a no cash out refi,
and then which is kind of the same as a HELOC.
I
mean, it's not a line of credit. Like you just have that money to deal with
the
how
difference.
You wanted.
Yeah, the difference between a cash out refi and a home equity line of credit is a cash out refi. You have one opportunity to examine exactly how much money you're going to need.
Yeah.
And whether you use all of that money or not, you're paying interest on that whole loan. Yeah. Right? Because they're going to cash out, let's just say 30 grand. They're going to cash out 30 grand.
Yeah, they're giving you a check for $30,000.
And if you only use 15 of it, you're still paying interest on the 30.
You
could put it back.
You could just put it back and refi. But a HELOC is more flexible.
A HELOC, you're only paying interest on the money that you've pulled out at that time. Yeah. And if I need more money next week, I can go back to the HELOC and get more. Yeah. And if we have a good month, I can put money back in the HELOC and it lowers the amount that's borrowed and the interest changes. So a HELOC moves with you. And that's why I did the HELOC.
It's flexible.
And so...
And that's when interest rates were low. So it was great.
Yeah.
Like now if you do it...
Right. And so I ended up doing about a $70,000 or $75,000 home equity line of credit. I pulled 90 days before we opened our doors, I pulled $15,000 out of the HELOC and started buying things that I needed to start buying 90 days ahead of time. Right. Yeah. So those things would be like starting to design our wrap and our stickers and everything else, because there's a lead time with that. Starting to get our shelving ordered. Again, this was during COVID when
it took 8 years or 2 days to get something.
Yeah, supply and demand was so wonky, right? So I'm buying material, I'm buying all this stuff and getting it all rolling. Getting our website up and rolling, I had to pay for that. Getting a phone system, like getting a phone up and rolling, had to pay for that. All these things I had to do ahead of time. Yeah. And then about 30 days before we opened our doors, it was probably 45 days. It wasn't 90 that we did the first round of payment. And then between 15 and 30 days before we opened our doors, I spent all the rest of the money I was going to need to spend on the things that I could do in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And that would be like all the inventory.
Stuff you didn't want to spend money on that's just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, I didn't want to buy inventory 45, 90 days before I'm going to open and then just have it sitting there. So
did you stock that truck?
Fully stocked, 100%.
You didn't
right out of the gate.
Like buy half, you just filled it up, said fuck it.
Yep.
How did you go about preparing and staying organized and recording that while presumably you were still working at the other plumbing place?
Well, keep in mind, before I started our company, I had a track record of starting plumbing service departments for other people. Mm-hmm. So I've done this before our company. And so it was literally just repeating the process that I had done for several other people up to that point.
So you were getting off at 5 and you're like, okay, today's job is inventory. Today's 5 p.m. the next day.
I mean, it was something different every day. Keep in mind, I was also finishing my basement at the time too. Mm-hmm. So it was like, sometimes it was computer work, working on the business. Sometimes it was physical work, working on the basement.
Yeah.
Sometimes I didn't have any work to do on the basement because we're waiting for flooring to get here or whatever else. And so now I'm doing the business work. It just kind of depended. But I had all that mapped out and I was able to start it with 30 grand. And then over the first 3 months in business, I paid all 30 grand of that back. And so the business was free and clear with the exception of the vehicle payment. The business owed nobody any money after 90 days in business.
Yeah. You need to sell that 90-day plan, make one up and sell on TradeWinds.
That's called TradeWindsConsulting.com.
Boom, there you go.
Or winninginthetrades.com.
Yeah. Next week.
So by the time this podcast airs,
we own winninginthetrades.com.
Yep.
It's just we don't have it forwarded to the other one.
So basically, business in 90 days. That's pretty cool.
Now look, for those that have listened to the first 9, and if you haven't, don't be dumb. Go back, listen to the first 9, and then come back to these if you want. You okay? You gonna throw up? Mitch hasn't had whiskey in a while. He just took a sip. I
Straight whiskey.
He thought he's gonna die.
He's missing the flavor. He's missing the lemon or the raspberry.
There's a whole, I can't remember which one of the first 9 it is, where we talk about this exact thing in detail.
Yeah.
About how to do it.
Yeah. And so essentially, like, I knew I had already done the math, I had already done the budget, and I knew I was going to need 30 grand. And really, I knew I was going to need like low 20s but I wanted 30 just so that the business bank account could start with some money in it.
Well, yeah, because you never know what could happen. Like, hey,
you could be a week and a half in business and some restaurant says, I need you to put in a water heater. And now I got to go buy an $8,000 water heater.
And don't have the money.
And I needed the money, right?
Yeah.
And so
you've got to be able to cash flow your business a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there are going to be outliers.
And having, sorry, go ahead.
And that's part of why I wanted to start with full inventory, because I wanted to literally be able to hit the ground running with any problem a customer was going to have.
Yeah. So you could get paid immediately.
And I'm glad I did, because that made me more mobile, more versatile, and everything else. And I was literally able to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I did the same thing. I didn't borrow money, but like when I had that truck, I just went up. Like I literally went to O'Connor Company, and I was like, "Well, this is what I need." Like they used to give out little books. That were, it wasn't like it is now. You go online, Ferguson, and just see it all. They had these little books. I just went in there and had everything highlighted, and I gave it to the guy, and I was like, "Hey, I need to buy all this stuff." He's like, "Man, that's gonna be a lot."
Right.
I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You don't have an account here."
Oh.
I won't say his name, but I was like, "Dude, it's me." Like that's where we all the company I worked at before. That's where we bought everything. And he's like,
"Right,
all right."